Welcome to Autobiology Bits with Jennifer Little Fleck.
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Autobiology Bits with Jennifer Little Fleck. Today I have a guest with me, Jonathan Charles Wilson, and he is one of my biohacker buddies. We met via a virtual biohacker conference, and we've been best buds ever since, and we love devices. We're both totally into biohacking devices, and I think I could probably safely say we consider ourselves early adopters to things. So today we are going to go over and share with you our favorite biohacking devices and also explain a little bit how they work, just in case you're curious. I will add in all of the links to each of these devices in the show notes so you can read up on more of them if you want. But right now I'd like to go ahead and give Jonathan the floor. Jonathan, please introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are, where you're from, and all that kind of good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate you having me on this morning. I'm coming out of Upland, California today. I've lived here for the past over a decade now. So Upland is right here on the border of Los Angeles and San Bernardino, Southern California. And I love it here. It's a little rainy today. Not too bad, though. I can't complain that we haven't really gotten a winter over here. It's been in the 60s and 70s all winter. So it's even been mild for us, right? I know, saying that with what's going on, but yeah, I'm been in biohacking since 2013, 14. I'm on the exact time. A buddy turned me on to Dave Asprey, and anybody who's into biohacking knows him. He's, some people call him, I guess, the father of biohacking. Very prolific individual. And it's been neat to grow my biohacking over the years and change just as my kind of goals change over the years, changing the types of biohacks that I'm using. And so today, what I'll do is get into the biohacks that I'm using currently the most regularly. And but yeah, I've been into biohacking for about that period of time. I'm a reader, sales consultant for a solar company, Sunrun, out here in California. Have been doing solar for 7 years. So most of the biohacks that I'm doing are mostly mental things that'll increase cognition, verbal fluency, just kind of some of the just energetically, emotionally, I would say, because being in houses with homeowners of all different types gets me emotionally fatigued at times. Having to, adapt to the next situation, sometimes being in 2, 3, 4 houses at a time with people for, an hour plus conversation for a pretty, lengthy sales process. So that's a little bit about me. And I'll go ahead and I guess just get started into the different biohacks I have here. And I'd be curious to see, Jennifer, what biohacks you're using as well. One of my go-tos, anybody in biohacking knows the term probably keto or ketosis, right? And so this is a cool little device called the BIOSENSE. Is a keto breath meter. So looks just like this. And there's been a number of keto blood measurement devices that the Keto Mojo, I used to use that one. They've got, I think, Ketonics is another breath one. This one is measuring the acetone that is found in your breath, which is a byproduct of ketosis. And so it's measuring that on this device. So you just turn it on, you blow into it. I won't do it right now, but you blow into it and it just takes a little bit of time. It's about a 60-second process, so I won't waste the time here. But
yeah, no. I have to say, so in our most recent biohacker box, which I just got mine yesterday. Do you subscribe to that?
I don't actually. I've gotten it in the past, but I should resubscribe. What did you get?
Well, I did. I got a Keto Mojo, and
okay.
it was funny because I have not tracked any of that. I'm a huge intermittent fasting person, and I've I've done a lot of different dietary things, obviously being a biohacker, but, I never really tracked it. And I thought, this year I'm all in, and I really want to see, what foods are, I want to start tracking my blood glucose and everything. So I was just about to buy one, and then he sent us one, and I'm like, woohoo.
Nice.
Um, I have to admit, I'm like completely obsessed. I haven't even had this for 24 hours. And I think that I've tested my ketones and my blood glucose like 5 times.
That is amazing. See, for me, it was kind of the opposite. I'm kind of a weenie when it comes to needles. My girlfriend is a nurse, and she'll attest to that. I have her do any injections or any type of needle stuff because I don't like any type of blood draws or anything.
Sure.
So I personally kind of like the breath one because I was doing the prick with the Keto Mojo, and it was enough of a deterrent that I wouldn't do it regularly. So that's good to hear. You're the opposite. You're all about it. But yeah, that's the key with a lot of these things. Is how often are you going to track it? How often are you going to measure? Sometimes I'll use this thing like on days when I'm really going into ketosis and I want to just kind of geek out on it. I'll use it every hour, and just watch hour by hour
Right.
how it's changing. And then other days, I don't use it at all because I know I'm not going to be in ketosis and I don't really care particularly how deep into ketosis I'm getting that day. So I use that tool in that way. And then another thing is that made me think of that with the blood glucose is back in the beginning of January, I was using a continuous glucose monitor.
Oh, you were? Okay. Tell me about that. Tell me about
Yeah.
your experience. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I figured you'd like that because it's pretty neat. I like anything you can biohack where you can track or measure any type of biological kind of stat on your body without having to do a lot of effort. That's the key because all these biohacks I'm going to show you today, I don't think I've ever used them all in one day, because there's just not enough time. So the continuous glucose monitor was super simple. I used the Libra link.
Okay.
Libra Life is the name of the company. And it's very simple to apply, even for me, somebody who just hates needles. I had no problem. Actually, the first time my girlfriend applied it, the second time I applied it, and it's not bad. It's actually not painful at all. It's just this little like spring-loaded. It's a needle, but it's very tiny, and it's a flexible tip. I don't actually understand the technology quite how it works. I read up on it. And apparently, it doesn't actually go deep enough to really like get into the tissue per se. It's just getting into that very first layer of subcutaneous tissue
Just into the epidermis.
I think they call it the interstitial fluid. There's like, I guess wherever that, I don't know. And you probably know on the biologic, I don't know what layer deep it goes. I don't know if that's,
Yeah, it's
dermis.
probably going into the dermis then, I would say, because there's no, there's no, blood vessels or anything, that go
That it can
into
measure.
the
Yeah.
epidermis. But I don't know. But you still have fluid in the epidermis. So I don't know. I'll have to see. I'll have
Yeah,
to
it was
check that
interesting
out.
because it's supposedly, I don't know the exact accuracy, but it's not quite as accurate as doing an actual blood glucose test. So they actually distinguish between blood glucose monitoring and CMs are, in my understanding, a little bit less accurate, but the benefit is it's tracking your blood sugar 24/7. So you can look at the data and you can input things like when your last activity was, what you ate, the contents of that food, so you can kind of decipher a bit what's affecting your blood sugar more or less. And I can report for myself that
Yeah. What were your big surprises?
I actually was the least surprising biohacks that I've done. In fact, my blood glucose is pretty good. I even had one day in December, the first time I did it, where I ate McDonald's and late at night, like super late at night. I ate McDonald's.
Which is like the worst thing you
Yeah,
could
late at
possibly
night.
do.
And I wanted to see how does that affect my, like, because I know it affects my sleep whenever if I eat, after, depends, but maybe 7, 8 p.m.
Right.
If I eat late, it'll affect my sleep, and I can see that I take longer. I have a more of a higher sleep latency, takes longer to get to sleep. I have less quality sleep until later in the night, once my body can digest. So I've noticed that about sleep, but with this, my blood sugar, I mean, a similar pattern. Obviously, you see a blood sugar spike, and that can affect sleep and metabolism and that. But yeah, I mean, overall, I have a pretty normal blood glucose response on virtually any food that I ate.
Wow.
It would spike to a normal 170, 180. And then within an hour or two, I'd be back under 100. And I spent 99% of my time between 80 and 90. So I have very normal blood glucose responses. So yeah, nothing exciting, but I think for people who are curious, it's a worthwhile experiment. I went through Dave Asprey's program. The company's called Levels, and I think it might be one of his startups. I'm not entirely sure, but I know he marketed it to me, and I buy most things that he markets to me. So
Ditto.
I yeah, I was like, this is awesome. I bought it. It was like $400 for a month. You get 2 sensors, 14-day sensors, so
Yeah,
28
I'm
days.
actually waiting for mine. That's why it took me a little bit to cough up the bucks, but then I was like, you know what? 2021, I decided I'm all in. So I'm still waiting. It's been, I want to say like 3 weeks since I ordered it. How long did it take you to get it once you?
Oh wow, yeah. It did take me a little while. It was almost a month or so, I would say. So yeah, you should be getting it pretty soon. And then
Yay.
yeah, application's not bad. Like you won't have any issue with it at all, I'm sure. And it's pretty. I mean, it doesn't really ever hurt. The only thing I found is if I slept on it, on my side and kind of put a lot of weight on it, I
Okay.
did notice some minor bruising. So just try to position it in a way as comfortable as you can get it, where it's hard to predict. That the second time was much better. I placed it and I didn't have any bruising, no issues. Like it
Okay.
was perfect. So you'll just have to kind of figure that one out for yourself. But no, it's a great biohack.
Yeah.
So
Before we move on, the only thing I want to do is kind of explain to the audience why ketosis is good, just for those people who are wondering why we care about this so much. And, I'm just real simply, it's just, your body can use several different things for fuel, right? So we have glucose, which we get from the breakdown of our food, but we also can use ketone bodies, which are a byproduct of the body learning how to burn fat for fuel instead. And burning ketone bodies is a much more efficient form of fuel. Um, Plus, the brain is loves ketone bodies for fuel. So, when you are constantly used to burning glucose only, you get those brain fogs, you get those that hangriness, you get obviously then you also have the whole cortisol spikes and all the cascade of events that occur when your body is just solely always needing glucose for fuel. So there's a ton of more things I could say about it, but I just wanted to give everybody kind of a basic understanding, of why, it might be worthwhile for you to learn, to teach your body basically how to use fat for fuel um,
mhm,
instead. So,
mhm.
all right, I digress.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got next?
No worries. I would second that. I kind of just wasn't really thinking this through totally, but I this is a good place to start this biohack, because I would say out of all of the biohacks for cognition, ketosis has been the most powerful for me. Of all of the supplements and products and nootropics that I take, and I do take a lot, the one that I find to be my staple is brain octane oil. I haven't had any this morning yet. I haven't had my bulletproof coffee, but I probably will here in a little bit. The brain octane oil that Dave Asprey makes is basically, for people who don't know, it's just a derivative of coconut oil. It's caprylic acid is the compound, and it's just the shorter chains of triglycerides or fatty acids that are found in coconut oil that he extracts out to get basically the highest octane, the highest fuel burning, fat source for you. It's very pure stuff. I've been taking it for years. I think it's just the best product I've ever purchased. I'm such a fan of the product. It's so simple and so effective. So yeah, take some of that. That'll definitely help kick you into ketosis a little bit faster. Whenever I do that, it makes me basically, with the way I kind of structure my day to day, is if I know I'm going to have a day where I'm going to have a lot of meetings, I'm going to be in front of people, I'm going to need to be, presentation worthy, right? Where I can kind of think quickly on my feet. I know I'm going to need to have a lot of ketones in my diet. If I'm having days where I'm not really on as much, right? They're a little more off, or maybe I'm doing office work or things where I'm not necessarily required to be as mentally quick, then I'll definitely have more carbs on those days, because yeah, to your point, ketosis is huge for mental clarity. So if you are listening and never tried ketosis, do it for a couple of days. I will say in the beginning, if you're doing it, sometimes your stomach can get a little upset, or you have to kind of find the right balance for you, or kind of ease into it. I'm at the point now where I can do high amounts of fat. I can do 3, 4, 5 tablespoons of butter or oil or whatever in my coffee. I can put a bunch of fat on my veggies in the form of butter or coconut oil. All those things I can handle now, but my stomach couldn't always handle that. So just a warning for people out there.
Yeah. I would say definitely warn people, because I don't know if you've read the you probably belong to one of his Facebook groups about his biohacking groups.
Yep.
But there are some horror stories on there about the first time people started adding these high fats to their diet. And I think Dave calls them disaster pants.
Yep.
But you have to learn how your body reacts to these different things, because it's different for everybody. But switching to a high fat diet obviously lubes up the works.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I would say good for people with constipation.
Yes, it'll clear you out in multiple ways, and that there is a correlation there. I think whenever your body is not spending a lot of time digesting, or kind of bogged down with a lot of sticky foods, right? Sugary foods, or things that don't really, like process quite as efficiently in the body. It does affect your mental clarity for sure. So,
Yep.
On that note, I'll switch to my next mental clarity device, which is the Muse. So the Muse headband here is this neat little headband that I'll demonstrate, put it on right here. You click the little button right here, turns on the sensor. And basically it just has these little sensors that you can see right here that are contact points with just the skin, and everything around your head. And what it's doing is it's picking up, it's an EEG. So it's picking up very subtle, basically frequencies that are being emitted by the brain. So there's different, neurofeedback devices out there that are more or less accurate. This one's less accurate. It's more of a consumer level. So it's not going to be like a sleep research study where they, glue all the electrodes to your head to measure
Right.
brain activity, like at that level, right? But this is just giving really basic feedback. So the way it works is, you obviously put this on, you turn it on, and then you go into the app on your phone, and this app gives you auditory feedback to let you know whenever you're in a, what do they call it? Basically a relaxed state. I forget the technical term for it, but the relaxed state meaning but you're not in a beta, stressed out, kind of scattered brain state. You're in a calm, focused place, and so your brain is they can pick up these frequencies, these subtle frequencies, and give that feedback to your phone. So for instance, the audio feedback will be like a beach. That's my favorite one. It'll have the sound of a beach. You'll hear the waves crashing, and then as you get more calm into your breath, and it kind of has a guide to show you how to breathe. And so as you're breathing, you'll hear the sound of seagulls or birds chirping. And as those birds chirp, that's the auditory feedback that you are calm and relaxed. And the animals can sense that. And I guess they fly over to you and land or something. I guess that's the visual they're going for.
Yeah. So that is one that I do not have. And, I don't have any biofeedback devices yet. But I have a different Muse. I have the Muse Sport.
Oh, you
So,
mean the Neuro this
or
one?
the Halo, yeah.
Oh,
And
okay, gotcha. Yeah,
yeah, so which isn't biofeedback, it's more of neural
simulation.
stimulation. But so I have to know, have you ever put that on when you're like super pissed off about something? And like, what does it sound like when you're at your ultimate, like worst?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've had like, so what I'll typically use it for actually is whenever I'm really frustrated or upset. So, like, for instance, I'll give you a real practical example.
Okay.
Anybody who is in sales of any form out there knows that one of the most frustrating parts of sales is whenever you've spent all this time and energy with a client and then they get cold feet on you and back out. And for me, the worst is whenever they send me a text message. I'm like, wait a second. I've spent X amount of hours and time in front of this person. I thought we had a rapport, and now they're just going to shoot me a text and say, "Hey, yeah, we changed your mind. We're going to cancel." It's like, man, don't even give me a courtesy call. But hey, that's how sales goes. You're going to get, obviously a lot of rejection on a daily basis. So for me, what I do is when I get that text message, my immediately heart rate elevates and fight or flight kicks in, and I want to jump on that text and be like, no, 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 wait, and try to, save the deal. But I found whenever I jump in from that reactive place, I usually say the wrong thing. And versus, taking a step back and using this device to bring myself into a more centered state of mind. So whenever I engage the customer, I'm doing so in a place of power. And it's been effective. I have saved deals doing that, just purely, I believe, by having a more calm state of mind. So the customer could feel that I wasn't, pressuring them or making them feel that anxiety that I was feeling internally. So I had to take control of that. So what I've done with this is I'll put this on, take a sit on the couch and start focusing on my breathing. And what'll happen is whenever I get that text and I'm really stressed and I put it on, is it usually takes a few minutes. I mean, I've gotten better over the years. I've been doing neurofeedback with the Muse with this is actually their third generation of the Muse. So I've was one of the early adopters with that, a number of years back. And so I've been using it for a while, and it's gotten easier to get to that calm state of mind. So it does take some practice. But to your question, yeah, for a good 5-10 minutes, the waves are crashing and it turns into thunderous sounds, like almost like ominous, where it's like literally my body and my brain is generating a storm, right? It's generating all this noise and signal, and the Muse device picks that up and gives me that feedback. And I mean, I can feel it in my body, but it's just neat to have that kind of tangible, hard feedback to confirm, like, yeah, I'm not just feeling anxious and I can feel my heart rate a little elevated, but my brain waves are all out of whack. And so I'll just, take some breaths, focus in on my inner man, so to speak, and just, calm myself with my inner dialogue and breath. And usually within 5 to 10 minutes, the birds start flying back around me and, the sun comes out and there's peace again. But
Well,
yeah.
I think pretty much everybody could benefit from something like that. I mean, don't you think most people probably don't have an appreciation for that mental shift, the fact that their brain is actually generating these,
Mhm.
magnetic fields that are traveling throughout their body. And I don't know how much into the science you want to get, but
Sure.
potentially emanating that to other people that are around them. I
Yeah,
feel like
exactly.
that's,
Yeah, you're going to emanate that.
yeah. I mean, don't you think that's what animals are picking up on sometimes? I mean, that's my
100%.
thoughts on that. Because don't you?
Yeah, it's a little bit, it's one of those things where it's experiential, right?
Right.
Everybody's probably experienced it at some level, but the feedback part of it, that's one of the things about biohacking, because I'm into personal development as well. I found, personal development in general, that's a very vague term, but to be kind of more effective in some ways, like to focus on the mental aspects or the emotional aspects or, trauma or different things from my past or what, those things are pretty effective. And they do resolve the biological things in some cases. But what's neat about the actual tech and the devices is it gives you that tangible feedback, because yeah, you might be affecting people around you, right? And And you can see that, right? We've all said something or done something stupid when we were just in a place, a poor emotional state, right?
Yes.
Where we're not really conscious or in control. And so this device just, it's a way to, because I mean, you don't need the device. Obviously, you can just stop and take a breath and pause and do whatever your process is to get recentered. But this is just something tangible. You can pick up. You can turn it on, and then you can start to identify when those birds are chirping without the actual device strapped to your head, if that makes sense. Where
Yeah, for sure.
you'll just be with people and you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm in that peaceful state. I'm in that relaxed state. And people will feel that and give you that feedback, but the devices have helped me get there faster.
Yeah. I definitely need to get that for when I get edits back
Oh, okay.
from my reviewers, because, most of the time, they're not very nice.
Mm. I've been helping my friend edit a book. He's launched, he actually just launched it today. But he came out with his autobiography, and he is
Wow, that's
like,
cool.
yeah, he's stressed because like he's a 33-year-old guy, grew up in South Central LA. Parents came from Africa. He's got mostly African, descent or heritage, and he goes in his story all the way back to Christopher Columbus and like brings it up till today. It's a pretty epic story, but he picked me to be his editor, and I'm like, dude, I'm not a professional editor, man. I was like, I'm a salesperson and a biohacker maybe, but I'm not. I was like, I'm not an editor, but
See,
I
he picked
became
you
an editor.
because you're nice. See, that's the thing is most editors, unless they're a good friend of yours, Margot, I'm looking at you. Uh, they're just mean,
Yeah.
And I think it's good and bad, because you need that feedback, but at the same time, I just feel like we could all use a some kinder words when, you
Yeah.
know,
That's
when
got
you're
to be
reading
rough.
your work.
And I will say I've experienced just being an editor with him or going back over things. I can feel his stress more than anything because I'm an empathetic person, and sales, like that's more what I'm picking up on. So I'm maybe not necessarily having as much like stress about it, but I can see how on your end or on his end receiving that feedback, I can feel that stress. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, being a salesperson, I'm probably not the best person because I'm going to try to give it to you softer or give it to you in a way that's going to be more palatable just by nature. My brain just does that. So,
Yeah,
um,
listen, I know it's different for everybody, but just, give me the sandwich compliment any day.
mhm. Yeah.
Anyway,
And,
all
and
right.
so, coach, yeah, anyways, getting back into that state of mind where I'll, talk to him and he's stressing out, and I'll take on some of that because I'm like feeling that energy. And I just, sometimes we'll pick up people's energy and then not, realize it. And so, yeah, again, devices like this will help you get back to that. I'm going to go ahead and switch order and talk about the device I was going to save for last, but I'll go ahead and jump into it right now. This is my favorite biohacking device, and good news, it's the most affordable of all the ones on the table. It's 130 bucks, I believe, 140 bucks. It's the Heart Math Institute heart rate variability monitor. So Heart Math Institute is basically an organization that studies how heart rate variability affects stress, as a really vague term. So heart rate variability is a metric that recently. It's, you have it on, your Apple Watch now. You have it on your a lot of devices have it as like a secondary kind of benefit. The sensors are pretty
Yep.
cheap, I would imagine. So yeah, your Aura Ring, is that
Yep.
is?
Yeah.
I lost mine, so I have to get it replaced. But
Oh no,
yeah,
that's a very expensive loss.
it is, and it's my favorite. Like, I love that. It's such a simple biohack because again, you don't have to do anything; it just does everything for you. But yeah, I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah,
I've
I
had.
I I did lose mine once, and I had to use one of those devices on one of those apps on your phone where you
Mhm.
walk around your house and it picks up all the Bluetooth devices And
Yes.
that was how I found it. But I lost a bunch of weight. And so my Aura ring is very, very loose. I mean, I'm already wearing it on my thumb and I can still like take it right off. So I'm going to have to order a new one soon anyway. But
They're
um,
really good about that. You know, I actually lost, so this is the second time I've lost my ring. I've had an Oura ring again back when it was just the first generation, the bulkier ring. And I lost that ring and I reached out to support and said, hey, guys, I lost my ring. I wanted to see if you guys have any deals for like a discount for a replacement. And they were just like, oh no, we'll just give you a new one like for free. Don't got it. And I was like, what? I was like, okay. So they sent
wow.
me a whole new ring.
You must have
But
had
yeah,
like
they've
some
been
good
great. I love that.
energy going on that day. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, you're gonna send me a $300-400 device. So yeah, I got lucky on that one for sure. But anyways, this device is awesome. What it does is you basically just you turn it on, you clip this little it's just a Bluetooth sensor, and you just clip it anywhere. And then this is the main actual piece that you need to put onto your ear. This is what's measuring the heart rate. I don't know why they picked the earlobe. I'm sure there's a reason why, but I guess there's probably just good blood flow or something there. So, anyways, that is measuring slight variations between heartbeats. So, a lot of people think of their heart, and they think it just kind of has like a consistent metronomic kind of steady pace, but it has a lot of variability, obviously, throughout the day. Whenever you're just getting up, moving around, or small things, even in your changes in your breathing, can affect your heart rate and your variability. Your strength of each beat. Like, there's so many different things that can affect your heart. But this device is it's very similar. I always keep it in the same bag here as the Muse, because I think of them in my mind as kind of two sides to the same coin. And I'll explain. So
Sure.
this device I use to meditate and to calm myself, to come back into um, that mental coherence where I'm able to be relaxed and focused. And this I kind of can see as more like a brain kind of mental thing that I use, whereas this one is actually more of like an energetic practice, I would say, where it actually makes me have more energy, but it's not like an anxious energy. It's a heart power, almost. Like, it's hard to even to articulate what it is. It's more of a feeling that you have. So I'll explain what that process is like. So again, you turn it on, clip it, and then you pull up the app just like you would with the Muse, and it's going to have a breath pacer. So you can set the breath pacer at whatever you want. You usually have it at 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. And what you're doing is different. The focus is around your heart space. So when I'm breathing and following that breath pacer, I'm focusing on emotional feelings. So I'm focusing on mostly gratitude. So this is a great one to integrate with your gratitude practice. That's, for anybody who's looking for the best biohack in the world, practicing gratitude is best biohack in the world, hands down. It's free, it's simple, and it's powerful on your biology in so many ways. I always equate it to, like, when you say grace before eating a meal and people pray. Well, it literally opens up your cells to receive and to digest and to be in that relaxed and digest versus fight or flight response. So whenever you set that intention, whether you're a Christian or whatever, religious belief is beside the point. It's really the intention of gratitude that opens up the cells and changes the physiology. And this device really amplifies that for me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And when I
Is
first,
you focus on your,
oh, sorry.
go on. What are you going to say? Yeah.
Yeah, when I first got my Aura ring, that was my first introduction to HRV, and I really didn't have a good appreciation for what that meant. But for anyone who's struggling a little bit with that, as you mentioned earlier, your heart doesn't exactly beat exactly the same all the time. In fact, when you're stressed, it is more rhythmic because your brain is saying, there's danger here. We need to make sure that you're running at optimum efficiency. So we're just going to make sure everything is running on time. But when you're relaxed, your brain says to your entire body, including your cardiovascular system and your heart, you know what? Take a break, relax a little bit, play around, have some fun. And that's when you see that variability. So it's not so rhythmic. And that's a good thing because, your heart, when you think about it, it is beating from the moment that you're conceived until the day that you die. It never turns off. So, being able to give it a rest from having to be so structured and rhythmic is a good thing. And that's what happens when we are in a more relaxed state. That's a real basic, simple explanation, I think, of HRV, but it is becoming more and more of an important marker, of whole body health. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think we're going to see a lot more with HRV moving forward for sure.
I love that. And with the Aura Ring, to your point, or BioStrap, or any of these other ones that measure HRV on a more of like a ongoing basis. So the continuous monitoring, kind of similar to the blood glucose conversation, the continuous monitors aren't as accurate as like a training device or like an actual blood prick. Like this is the equivalent to a blood glucose blood prick. It only works in that moment, but it's not, obviously it's not continuous. So it's a little bit more accurate, it's more effective, but it's only for training purposes. So again, I can access that state that I'm looking to access without the device. That's the
Right.
goal. So again, the access, when I'm trying to access that calm, relaxed, centered state, it's this device. Whenever I'm trying to access my personal power, right, my gratitude, just that unlimited energy, it really does come from the heart space. And to your point about the nervous system and the body, I don't know because I'm not a biologist, but I've heard and read little bits and pieces that apparently your heart has some tissue that's called the neurocardiocytes, and these neurocardiocytes are just like it sounds. They're basically neuronal tissue that is communicating with the nervous system, and it's doing that much more powerfully than the brain. I think that there's different estimates out there, but they say it's about 10 times more energetically rich or powerful than the brain is. And I mean, that would make sense because there's all the blood, all the nutrients, all the life source really comes from that heart. And respiratory and all the stuff that comes out of that. So it's even more powerful. That's why I say this is my favorite, because I think it's the most effective. It's a very low cost, very low tech. Really, I mean, it's just that little sensor and then your breath. And I can feel it. I'll describe the sensation whenever I'm in a coherent state where my heart is beating really strong, and I can literally feel it once I get into that place where my heartbeat in my chest, like I can feel every beat. And it just feel like right now I'm not really tuned in to my heartbeat, but if I wanted to get into that place, I could. And whenever I do that, it makes my heart start to beat stronger and slower and has more of that variability and subtle variability in it. And it feels like a euphoria. It actually will feel like I can feel the muscle and some of the actual tissue kind of almost like open up and become more relaxed. And it feels like a slight euphoria or a sense of joy that starts to emanate. And so that's why it just feels so good. So if you want to feel really, really good, I highly suggest getting one of these devices and training yourself on how to get to that coherent place, because you'll feel great, and that's going to translate to people wanting to be around you, and they're not going to know why. To your point, you're going to, like, pets or humans or babies, whatever, people in general, any living creature can pick up those signals. And a peace is a good one to bring, but joy, I think, is even more powerful, right? Joy and love.
Yes.
You're going to experience
Joy.
that with something like that.
Yeah, joy for
Yes.
sure. Well, what you're saying confirms, what the scientific literature has taught us over the last, couple of years, which is that yes, our brain does a lot of our thinking and kind of runs our systems, but um, the brain isn't all powerful. And what we're learning is there are, for example, they're calling your gut actually the second brain. And what we're finding is that the communication pathways between the gut and the brain, between the skin and the brain, between the heart and the brain are extremely, extremely powerful. So it's not just the one-way communication, right? That we always thought about it. There's an active two-way communication between these organ systems. So, your skin is communicating with your brain. Your heart can communicate that those levels of stress and or not with the brain, and that's how your brain is understanding the fact that maybe I'm in the wrong I'm in the wrong state. Maybe I should be in relax mode, instead of
Mhm. Yeah, which mode do I
crazy
need to
stress
be
mode.
in? That's a good way to put it because yeah, like I said, some days I go, "Oh, okay, I'm not going to be in a higher performance day, so I can have a few more carbohydrates. If I'm a little bit more, what I don't dial in the different dials as much. Like I just kind of I'm a little more lax with myself. But then yeah, the days whenever it's like, hey, I have this thing I need to do, and it's going to require this of me. I ask myself the question, what emotional state or what state do I want to be in or do I need to be in for this? So I have a certain set of states that I go to for like a sales call, for instance, where it's like, okay, I want to be grateful, curious, and enthusiastic. Those are my three states. So I want to be grateful, so I'm receptive to the client. I want to be enthusiastic, so I can transfer that energy to them of what I'm selling them, and I want to be curious, so I can, leave no stone unturned. I want to really discover what it is that the client is after. And so those are like, for instance, three states for that particular thing. So I can, tap into that really intentionally. But then I have other areas where I'm maybe less practiced, right? And I don't necessarily always know, well, what state would be appropriate for this particular thing, so it's not always very clear, but that's just the way I see it. But yeah, in terms of what you said about, I'll tie into the next biohack, which is the two-way street of communication. So yeah, the nervous system is communicating through impulses and signals, primarily through light, right? So light is awesome. I don't think I even told you I was going to bring this device, but I brought it. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on. Check it out. My little space helmet. So
Awesome.
this device here is, I'm going to turn it on. It just turned red. So this is
Right.
the Iris Store LED. It turns off when you take it off. It's got sensors. It's a hair restoration device. So in my family, I actually did genetic testing for it as well. I have all of the genetic variables for androgenic alopecia.
Okay.
So those of you who don't know, right, just means you have a higher likelihood of male pattern baldness, right? So for me, it's just right up here around what do they call that, the space right here? I forget, but yeah, a little part of my head. So I got this device after reading a bunch of reviews. I do have a few different red light devices that I use, and I've found that they do work on an energetic level. Like I do feel recharged whenever I get a good dose of red light in. And this device uses about 60 LED lights specifically to stimulate the hair follicle and the blood vessels and tissue around in the scalp. So that way you get more blood flow, you get more nutrients, you hopefully slow down, prevent, and reverse some of the shrinking, the follicle shrinking, and there's different stages, I guess, of hair development of the follicle. And so anyways, this device I've been using for a few months now. I have noticed some changes. It's one of those things where it takes a long time.
Well,
They say
yeah,
it could take
anything with
6 to
hair
12
takes,
months of pretty consistent.
yeah, anything with hair takes a really long time. I mean, because our hair growth cycles are so long, and plus there's only certain amount of hairs in a growth cycle at any given time. But yeah, I actually just did a podcast with my daughter and her best friend who are 7 and 8, and they
Okay.
asked me about yeah, how hair grows. And we talked about this, but yeah, you'll have to keep me posted on that. I'm really curious about that. Red light therapy is being used for a lot of different things. And I've seen a couple of different devices targeted at balding and hair growth. And I think one of the things we have to mention here is you still have a nice amount of hair on your head. And one of
Right.
the things that has come out of this is once the follicle is completely dead, you can't stimulate it to grow hair anymore. So the
Right.
key is really getting it to regenerate while it's still alive, which is what you're doing. So
Yes.
I'm real, like I said, really curious to hear how that goes with you.
Yeah, I have noticed a little bit. I had it weird. It was like on my left side, it was a little bit thinner than the right, and it was a little imbalanced. And yeah, I mean, I still have a decent amount of hair, but it has been thinning over the years, just slowly but surely. This has been a handful of months, so maybe another 3 to 6 months, I'll notice more. But yeah, that's one of the biohacks. Light is really powerful for regulating the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse and really responsible for every aspect of your life, your
Everything.
energy, everything. So I always tell people who are suffering from even like myself, sometimes I'll get mild depression or just have a bad day, right? And so if you're having those tough days, um, it's like what biohacks, what's the imbalance in the body. And a lot of times I find it has to do with light. Like if I've been sitting in the house all day, I've been in front of my computer, I've been getting poor light quality, and I'm like, man, why do I feel so crappy? Usually it has to do with light. And so other than just going outside in the sunshine, I'm very lucky here in California, I can go out any day and get that. But um, yeah, specifically using targeted light therapies. I do have a really cool device up in my room where it's near infrared and LEDs. It's got like 600 LEDs, and
Well, which one do you have? I have a platinum LED.
this one's called the Inferno.
Okay.
It's a small startup company out of Canada called EMR Tech. EMR stands for Electromagnetic Revolution.
Okay.
And they produce some pretty high quality lights. The one that I got was like an $800 light, very like heavy duty. It's got like a bunch of fans and like quiet fans and motors and stuff on it to keep it cool. But it's a pretty heavy duty device. In fact, they only recommend 5 to 7 minutes in front of it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I do about 12 minutes on mine, and I love combining the meditation hack with the LED light at the same time because it does put off a little warmth. And, here in Pittsburgh, we suffer from a serious lack of sunshine. Although I have to say today, you can probably see
Yeah.
out my window. This is our second sunny 60-degree day in a row. I'm so excited. And then we have like snow flurries coming again this weekend, which is awful.
That's
But yeah, so I go in my closet, I shut the door, I put on my meditation, and you can just feel it like emanating through you. It just makes you feel so good. And my skin feels amazing when I
yes.
do it consistently,
Does yours?
especially when I'm.
You said that you have a platinum. Is that just red light, or is it near infrared, or any other
It's
type of?
both. Yeah, it's
Okay.
near infrared and infrared.
Okay.
Um, and I use it for about 12 minutes at a time. It's pretty powerful. I could use it more, but if I use it when the kids are home, then it's like, well, everybody has to have a turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I try to do it first thing after they leave for school in the morning. But yeah, but it helps. It just helps you feel good. It wakes you up, and you can feel the energy from the mitochondria. And I do think that it does aid in cellular repair. I especially was using it. I had after I had a pretty bad accident last year
Mm.
with lots of broken bones. So that's one of the few things that can penetrate down to the level of the bone, which is why I was really curious about your helmet because I have seen a lot of research on people who have suffered from strokes
Hmm.
using uh, red light therapy helmets because it's the only thing that can penetrate down through the skull to help that brain start to
Yeah,
encourage new
blood
pathways,
flow, and yeah.
blood flow, and yeah. So it's
What's
really
interesting, the way I would describe it to people, and it's like light is almost like a magnet, because, and if you think of it like this, and that's why, like, maybe
well,
that's
it's
why they call it
energy. Yeah.
electromagnetic revolution. No, but it's because that what happens is every cell has mitochondria in it. Certain cells have more dense mitochondria than others, but the mitochondria are basically addicted. That's their fuel source is light. So they're basically like, they need more light. And so if you put light in specific targeted areas, the blood, the blood cells, all the different resources in the body, which the whole body, again, it's communicating with the mitochondria, is like, quick, go that direction. So it's almost like it targets, it causes the body to send more, to grow more there. Really, it's like a growth catalyst of sorts. Because I've used that for myself. I just had an injury this week and a half ago. I was celebrating my birthday over in Big Bear, California, and me and my girlfriend went and got a cabin, and we were there with her son and her mom. It was like a little family event. We went and did sledding,
Yeah,
and
I was gonna say, I think I saw you sledding on Instagram.
yeah, I went sledding, and it's hard. You have to like kind of zoom in, but I did post a picture of my side, because I got to the bottom of the hill and I kicked this log out of the way. It swung around and it hit me in the ribs, and
Mm.
I don't think it broke anything. Maybe fractured. I have this weird like calcium deposit now in one of my ribs, where it's like I have a contusion for sure, maybe a slight fracture. And I've been using the light therapy on it, and the bruising and everything's almost completely gone. But yeah, it definitely is for things that are like skin related, for sure. If you have any redness or scarring, or anything like that, red light, and near infrared too, but it'll definitely clear that stuff up really quickly. So
Yeah, for
that's a
sure.
good one.
I was going to say, in fact, if you combine the red light and high doses of vitamin C, you will definitely see a difference in your skin, just because, vitamin C is what is necessary for any type of collagen repair, skin renewal. I mean, it's the building block of your skin. So,
Yeah,
that's what I do as well. But
that's a good one. I saw that post about the vitamin C. Definitely got some extra stuff out of that. I know I knew a little bit, but that was helpful. I like those
yeah.
little carousels. That's a neat way to educate people. And then the last thing I have here that I'll share is just the device we pulled up earlier,
Yes, yes.
our Neuro Sports. So I will say I'm more curious to hear from you on this one, because I use this one so little. How often do you use your device?
Well, I for neuroplasticity purposes, I practice playing the piano a lot.
Oh, okay.
And so that is primarily what I use it for, because what it does is, it comes with an app, and you put it on, and you can see it has these little projections here, and you wet them, and it forms a connection. There you go, connection, to your brain waves, and it directs them, it stimulates them. On your app, you choose like whether you want to stimulate your right brain or your left brain. And obviously, so if I'm having trouble with a piece, with a particular hand, you choose obviously the opposite side of the brain for that. But I have found it really effective for helping me with new songs, speeding it up, uh, just speeding up the progress of learning, basically. And that's what it's for. um when I listened to one of the creator of this on a podcast, he was talking about how, think about 10-year-olds, how quickly they pick up stuff, and you're always amazed, right? You're just like, oh my God, like you've seen this one time, and you can totally do it. Adults, over time, we lose that ability a little bit to just immediately pick up something. And it has a lot to do with how the prefrontal cortex changes over time, as you know, into adulthood. But what it allows us to do is sort of re-stimulate these areas of the brain that are open to new information, and to create new pathways, or to strengthen existing pathways within the brain. So
Yeah.
that's what I use it for. That's what I found it helpful for.
Cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'll be completely honest. I use this for Call of Duty, so video games.
Yeah, that's right. It does have an amazing sound system in it as well. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Actually, I didn't realize you can. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a way I could plug it into the Call of Duty. I was just using it I would use it before I was going to play. So what I'll typically do is I'll just put this on. They call it Neuro Priming. So you generally do it right, like within 20 minutes or 30 minutes.
Yeah, they say you have to do whatever you're going to do within 30 minutes.
Yeah, right after it. Yep. So what I'll do is I'll usually put this on and then start playing, Call of Duty video game. Those of you guys who don't know what that is. So it's a first-person shooter video game online with a bunch of those 10-year-olds you mentioned who are
Yes.
quicker and they do react faster.
Exactly.
No longer. I beat them all the time with this device. So what it does is it basically increases your motor cortex's ability to acquire, like you're saying, new pathways, new synapses, and create those. But yeah, specifically, I guess it's targeting the motor cortex.
Yes,
so
exactly.
learning anything that's with hand-eye coordination, right? Piano or playing a video game or anything that's hand-eye coordinated related. I'll plug that in, and then I think it works pretty good. I usually get first place whenever I do that. So.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, supposedly they're working on a new device that stimulates other areas other than the motor cortex, so that you can stimulate pathways that are more learning and memory based versus just motor skills.
See,
So.
whenever I don't want to get too far off into this tangent, but I'm one of the people who's, I'm a believer in transhumanism. So there's a little bit of a conflict of belief there with some of my religious side of things. But basically, I'm all for like neural lace and, these different types of brain implant technologies out there, because essentially what some of these different ones are doing, whether it's, a stimulation device or a feedback device, is like this from a stimulation standpoint. Well, I'll just focus on this from a stimulation standpoint. We can do that more directly instead of doing it over the scalp. We're doing it directly in the tissues, and obviously that's much more dangerous. And so there's a lot of hesitance, to do it. My understanding with that technology right now is they're only doing it on people who it's like their only last chance hope kind of thing. They have some major maybe brain injuries, or they've got something that we don't have any current solution for, and people who want to opt in. I think it is specifically stroke patients. People who've had
Stroke patients, and also epilepsy. I've written a lot on epilepsy and just the different modalities that they use to stimulate the brain, not only to stop seizures, but prevent them. And then also afterwards, people who've had, lobectomies, removal of parts of the brain, helping to stimulate the development of new neural pathways. So, I'm actually right now I'm reading Dr. I don't know how you say his name, Deutsch, maybe Dr. Norman Deutsch, his book on the brain that changes itself. And it really recounts how we learned that the brain can change itself. And, what's so amazing to me is for how long we were completely sure. And when I say we, it's really the medical community. The medical community was completely 100% all in on the brain could not change itself. The brain could not create new neurons, that we were born with all the brain cells we were ever going to have. And that is absolutely not true, even a little bit. So, the brain to me is just a fascinating subject. So I'm with you. I'm all in on Elon Musk's and his Neuralink,
Yeah.
studies and his coming. I love that kind of stuff. I think the brain has just eluded us for so long, and we're really only now starting to understand, what we can do with it and how we can change it for the better. So that's cool. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, I know I apologize. We've run a little bit over, but this has been super fun. And I didn't even really get to any of my devices. So we might have to do this again so I can do mine.
Cool.
But it's so fun talking to somebody else who likes to experiment on themselves. But more importantly, I think that by you sharing not only as you'll see, different devices than what I use, I think that it's helpful for people who maybe are struggling a little bit right now with wanting to be able to change, some of the ways that they approach stress relief or biofeedback, or just really understanding how to control their emotions without drugs. And I think that's one of the beauties of all these devices that we've shared today, is they are, all drug free and harnessing the potential power within the body.
I would love to hear more about what biohacks you're using, because I'm a nerd on some of these. I think you text me or something, some of the ones you're doing, and I was like, what's that? I've never even heard of that. And so, I would be curious to hear about which biohacks you're using. I just touched on 5 today. So, and I can talk and drone on.
Yeah.
So
Plus, I think we talked a little bit about Aura Ring, but we didn't super talk about that. So maybe we'll save that. But I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4 that we didn't talk about. So.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's been awesome to get to meet you. This is actually the first time we've met today. So, we'll look forward to more,
Awesome.
sharing stuff as time goes on.
And Jonathan, if anybody, wants to follow you or even learn more about what you do during your day job, how can they best reach you?
Yeah, I would say for this conversation, just reach me at my personal handle. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, any of the social media platforms under the very long name Jonathan Charles Wilson. So search for that. You'll find me on every platform. That's my handle on every single platform.
Great. And I'll also put your information in the show notes as well. So if people want a direct link, they can find one super easy. All right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Like I said, I had a ton of fun, and I'm definitely feeling a part 2 here. So
thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Do you have an autobiology question for Jennifer? Ask it at autobiology.net or Instagram @autobiologywithjennifer. And keep listening to see if your question has been featured. And remember, anyone can be an autobiologist. This podcast is for information purposes only. Any of the discussions or products held herein are not in any way offered as prescription, diagnosis, nor treatment for any disease, illness, infirmity, or physical condition. Any form of self-treatment or alternative health program necessarily must involve an individual's acceptance of some risk, and no one should assume otherwise. Persons needing medical care should obtain it from a physician. Consult your doctor before making any health decision. Statements and views expressed on this podcast are not medical advice. The podcast host may have direct or indirect financial gains from products discussed on this podcast.